Well, good morning. Just wait for a few to join, and I hope you can all hear me. We're going live. We're live now, so hopefully you can hear me. Just wait for a few people to join, hopefully. Hi, Dave, all right? Getting a few, got a like, that's good. Getting a few now. Morning, John. We'll have a chat in a minute, let a few more come in, hopefully. I've combed my hair for you. Hi, Darren. Morning, Richard. Hiya, John Hawkins, that is, and John Beasley. Hello, Andrew. I'll be talking about you in a bit. Morning, Alan. No, great shirt, Stuart. That is a great shirt. Morning, Jamie. Getting one or two up now. Quite a few. Could do with a few more though. I know there's about half a minute delay in things that come through to me, so I'll get another minute or so. Well, anyway, what we're here to talk about is fishing. I suppose that's the idea of this. And anyway, my fishing really started when I was a nipper. The first place I ever fished was Ashby Cut, Burton Joyce, the Wharf, Coventry Road Bridge, Shackey, and places where you do as a kid. And the other places I used to go to was Barwell Lane Pit, the little pit, which was owned by Hinkley Angling Club. And the first match I ever fished as a kid was a junior match for Hinkley Angling Association, where the draw was always at the Wharf. And there used to be a chap there, and he used to say, "Sticklebacks and minnows are barred." I never forget that, all the time with his little flat cap on. Anyway, fishing, and my dad never used to go fishing, but I used to fish with my uncles, Uncle Brian, Uncle Don, and his children, and also my great uncle Hubert, out at Great Bowden near Market Harbour, and I used to fish the Naseby Reservoir with him quite a few times, and I had a big pike on a Devon minnow. I'll never forget that. Going on later on, I suppose I got into match fishing really around in a proper way in the middle 70s, where when I was fishing at the Morris, and I got invited to fish with a Foreman's Association, along with one or two of my friends like Harold York. And we went, they used to have a stretch on the River Sense by Sheepy Magna, and I fished the first match and won it. Or the second match I went back to, I won that as well, so they wouldn't let me go again, laugh out loud. But yeah, that really was an insight into me fishing, and it took off, I suppose, in a big way then. Fishing the matches on the Welland and the Nene, and matches on the Oxford, etc., that Stan Smith used to run, the New Stars and all that, and big matches. Never really done any good. Had a few moments, but not really any good. And of course, then I come down to Bristol, and coming down to Bristol, I suppose I really got involved with Stapleton Angling Club, and through that I got involved with the Bristol and West Federation of Anglers, and I started running matches for the Bristol and West Federation of Anglers, which was so successful, and they were sellouts, and they were really big, and we attracted big names from the Midlands, from the London area, etc., and they also had, and of course it culminated with having a national on the river. I got helped out quite a lot with a chap called Mike Chapman. He helped me out a lot, rather. I mean, there was the occasion. How it all started really was I went to a Bristol and West meeting with Stapleton, and they were having a discussion about pulling out the NFA because of the cost, and all it meant really for them was the team in the national. And I stood up and said, "What are you worried about?" I said, "You got a water there. You just hold a couple of matches, and it'll pay for the national." And of course, there was a bit of what's it about? Oh, you go and run some then. That was the attitude. So I did, and I paid for they were successful, and I paid for the team to go on the national. I think it was on the Welland, probably in 1977, I would imagine, and I got sponsorship for them and all. Cheated a bit, really, to get them sponsorship, but because I'd let the word have it that Woolies were going to sponsor them, i.e. Winfield Tackle, which was I did ask them, but they were never going to do it, but I got the word about that they were, and I had a phone call from the chap at Enfields, Mike Salisbury. And we did got him sponsorship in a strange way. I got him jackets. Well, Mike being what he didn't only have Veal's name on them, he had Scott's Tackle name at Staple Hill printed across them as well. and he also gave them some bait, etc., etc. And they went up on the Welland on the National. Didn't do very well, I don't think. I can't remember now. But anyway, that was the start of a big friendship with Mike that went on for right up until his death, which was untimely and a shame, really, because he was such an insight for me. The other things we get, you get in fishing is how lucky you are, really. And I suppose I was lucky or unlucky, but I went to an NFA conference and quite a few times, and you meet people from all over, which was great. I suppose really and truly speaking, luckily, how I really got involved in angling, and I suppose really and truly speaking, helped out down here in Bristol, putting people's names about and putting them in the press. I was at a Winter League meeting, and obviously the editor of the Angling Times was there, and at the bar was Mike Jones, and I walked up to the bar. I ain't going to say to buy them all a drink because you wouldn't believe me anyway, but I was going to. Anyway, I got there, and Mike Jones said to Ainsey, Ray'll do it. And I said, Ray'll do what? He said, well, write for the paper, like for the South West, do all the match reports. And I thought, bloody hell. Yeah, I can do that, and I did, and the rest is history. And we've done some great features, and I've put a few on Facebook just lately. So I suppose that there, and going on from that, I met some wonderful people, and I'd done some great features. Not only for the angling Times, but also the Angler's Mail. The thing is about it. I'd done a feature on the Huntsbill with a chap from Inkley, one of my best friends named Harold York, and we had the picture. One of the pictures they used weren't the Huntsbill really, but it was a picture from the axe. But who gives a damn? And I put at the bottom of that, each time there was another national on the Huntsbill, and that happened. So that was good for Bridgewater. It brought in a lot of revenue, etc., etc. And we fished it. We didn't do too good. I was disappointed because I didn't draw on the Huntsbill. I drew on the drain, but it was all good fun. Coming back a bit, and that got involved in other things. I've been all over Europe, really. Fishing Germany, Holland, Belgium, France. Great times in France. Great times everywhere, really. And the thing is about it, I really enjoyed it. And it opened up a lot for me. And I met a lot of friends. And I just, one of them is who I can talk about now. He's on there. Was Andrew Lightbrown. And the first time I come across Andrew was on Broadmeadow. He was next to me as a young kid, next to me. And I'm going to say this: his dad was, and he had a load of worm with him, and he caught on the worm, and he gave me a right tanking. And we've been friends ever since, And it was good fun, and it was always fun, and the classic to me was brilliant. I love fishing the classic, and I've had some good weights. I've had some downers and I've had some uppers. My one achievement, I was second overall one day, and I was third in the classic. So they're things that they can't take away from you. It's all good stuff. And I just believe that when you look at it, the stories that come out of that are absolutely unbelievable. And if you had to replay them, you wouldn't stop laughing. And the trips I organised to Ireland, to whether it was the south or the north, I think the lads that come on them trips really enjoyed themselves. there were absolutely fantastic times. I mean, when you see people pouring whiskey on their cornflakes in the morning, absolutely sodden to death, and then go out fishing and catch over £100 a roach on the river Bann is unbelievable. I mean, one year we had there was 30 people fishing. Well, actually 29, because one of them was asleep on the bus. He never got his tackle up. But all right, Danny, if you're watching, it was you. But anyway, cut a long story short, that day we weighed in over a ton of roach, 29 anglers. I packed up after 3 hours, worrying because of all these fish we were catching. I can't remember what the top weight was that way. I think the top weight actually was Vic Bush on the day, but we weighed in over a ton of roach, 30 anglers. And I was worried about catching the ferry going back, obviously, because I was the organiser and we didn't want to. Anyway, cut a long story short, we weighed in, we got on the bus and we drove, and as we went into the ferry port, drove up on the back of the bus and they shut the gate and sailed. We just made it. But they were good times on the night time as well. We had some brilliant nights, and in the discos and everywhere else in Northern Ireland. And the people, we had some fantastic friends. I mean, the bait organised, Barry Nicholson got us the bait loads of times, and it was always there, it was always fresh, and it was always brilliant. And what can you say? I mean, some of the young lads were terrible. I can remember one time we was leaving Veals. We used to leave Veals round about 8 o'clock, and there was 30 on the coach. And as we dreft off, they got the cards out and they started playing cards. And by the time we'd gone round the island and turning left by the Gin Palace in Bristol, for them that know the Gin Palace in Bristol, one lad had lost all his money in that time and had no money to go over, but he was scrounging off everybody while he was there. And things like that really do help. And there was other time they were drinking on the bus, and some people's suitcases got a bit of pee on them, which weren't very nice really. But when you think about it, it was laughable really, because it didn't do anybody any harm other than Colin Golding's suitcase, and things like that. But over the years, we've had some, I've had some great trips. I mean, there's been the ups of it, I suppose. Looking at it, I've done a feature with Ian Heaps with a stick. What a brilliant day out that was, on the Oxford. Heapsy with a stick, me with I think I fished a 5 metre pole, I don't know, a bit of a disadvantage for myself really if I say it. But we had some really good really good times. That feature went in most magazines, I do believe, all over Europe, and I was fishing in Holland against, we had a couple of 3 matches against the Dutch, and we won one, and the next one we went to fish, and they put us on this place, and nobody could catch it. They were catching, and nobody could weigh it up. Because we were like intent on fishing the feeder. But what it was, they took us to this canal, and it was 6 foot deep and 3 foot of silt. And of course the feeder were just sinking in the silt, and it was old Ian that worked it out in the end. But by the time he'd worked it out for us all, it was too bloody late. They really stitched us up there, and I mean, I'm talking about real good. But it was a laugh. And the other thing that we couldn't come to, there's out there, there's a Jan van Schendel. And there's Jan van Schendel, Nick Chaffer and myself. We stood there, and Jan's got this ledger rod in his hand, and he's saying, how'd you put the feeder on, and you can laugh about it now. And Nick and myself showed him the different ways to attaching this feeder. Anyway, the fish was on a complex on the Madderstein. Although we had to break for lunch, we had a break in the match. Jan won the match anyway on the feeder. But he was advantaged over us because he had the dreaded bloodworm like and Joker. So, but it's funny to laugh about that. A good old Jan, and you know, these are the people you meet. I had some great times as well. I got involved, I suppose, with the Brady's group in Ireland through Dave Orton, and they asked me to promote their hotels on the Irish Tourist Board Roadshow, which was a great time, absolute great. You know, a week travelling around the country, you know, advertising the White Horse Hotel and the Kilmore, and I can't remember the name of the other hotel. They had three, but I can't remember the name of the other one. But they were great nights, meeting people from, you know, from Leeds to London sort of thing, and it was great, and we had some great times. And one time, because I was representing the hotel trade in Ireland, this week the King of Clubs was mentioned, and obviously I had a little bit of an input into that because they were on about going on points, and I said it ain't about catching points in Ireland, it's about catching fish, and I think you should be on weight. Anyway, cut a long story short, they did agree, and the competition was put on weight for a time. And I think the last person to win it outright on weight was Peach Hodge from Bridgewater, God rest his soul. You know, and they were fantastic times. And I met Bobby Smithers for the first time after he won the World Championships. And, well, we got talking to him, and he hadn't got much of a seat box then, so the next time we were in Ireland with Mike Salisbury of Veals, we presented him. We met him at the back of the Metal Box Company on the canal there, and we presented him with a Shakespeare box. I mean, that's, you know, you can tell how hard it was for him then in them days. And of course, the rest is history. What he done, he become very successful with his blacksmith's business, and all the ironwork in Dublin now is attributed to poor old Bobby, God rest his soul. And I know his son's on Facebook, and I do make comments to him now and again. The other things is obviously, you know, helping teams out, you know, when they come down here for the Bristol Avon, along with Nicky Isles, Eddie Shortman, Mike Chapman, and like I said, Dave Haynes, and we had one or two great laughs. The highlights really is that one year we did help Cozil, and they won the national, and Les Pruss with his famous catapult was second individually. The only downfall to that, my own team Inkley were last, so you know you can laugh. But there's other times I can remember. I won't mention the team, but you know, what you might call a low point. We helped this team anyway. They won for the Captain Morgan, and they won the Captain Morgan Cup on the Banning Island. And I went up to Evesham to fish the Sports Argus, and I drew a peg. I ain't got a clue about it really, and I asked this certain individual, how do I fish this peg? And he told me, he said, it's out and out stick float peg, and you know, you just got to keep feeding, they'll come. And so I was doing that. Anyway, I was fishing away, and I don't know how long into the match, but quite some time, 2.5 hours, and one of the Shakespeare team, a brilliant lad, Tony Davis, come up to me and he said, what the effing hell are you doing? So I said, well, it's like this. I said that this individual told me that. He said, chuck it up the bank and chuck the waggler out. Anyway, the disappointment is I finished second. I finished second in that match. And I think if Tony had come in half an hour earlier, would have won it. You know, it's a prestige match to the Sports Argus competition then, and on a river like, so you know, there was an opportunity lost, and I felt really disappointed that we'd helped them, you know, on the Bristol Avon to further their efforts in the Captain Morgan Cup, and they told lies. Anyway, that's by the by. The disappointing part about that was the winner was invited to Ireland. Anyway, cut a long story short, I I went on another NFA conference, and there were people chatting there, and I can't remember who was there actually. One of the angling talks, I think it might have been Ainsley, was there along with a couple of other people, and a chap named Paul Harris from the Irish Tourist Board, and they said, Ray will go, because he does a lot for us, like, I think. And anyway, I did get an invite along with this bloke, and who actually won the Sports Argus from Abingdon, he was. And I think all in all, I went to Ireland and we made a film. I think that film was called Fish Trek. That was one of the films we done. Had a great time. We went down to Limerick and we had a great time, and fishing on the Shannon and the Anna, and with John Dean, one or two others. Anyway, cut a long story short, then we all met up in the mid up in Cavan area, and the film was quite good actually. There was quite a lot of fish caught. And then on another occasion, I went over and we'd done another bit of filming for a film called Discover Angling in Ireland, and that was well received as well. If anybody's got any copies of that out there, them two films, I'd love them because I can't find them anywhere. So I just think that they were brilliant things, and I did make another film along with some more people, and it was on the Barra. I was lucky enough to get on the Barra. Well, that's what I thought I was lucky enough. Anyway, the film crew turns up. It's proper with director, cameraman, lighting, and everything else, and all the gear trampling over this field towards the River Barra in the morning with the mist shining. Anyway, been beautiful. We gets to the river, and I turns round to go back, and he said, the director of the film said, "Where you going?" And I said, "Well, we can't fish this. I ain't kidding you. You never seen out like it. There was sheep going down, lying on the back, old trees and everything, and it was absolutely terrible." "Oh no, we can't do that. We got the full crew here. We got to do something." So I mixed a bit of ground bait up, set a feeder rod up, and I chucked it down the edge like that. And I was tackling everything else up, and I loaded it. I thought, "Oh, look at that already," and already bloody tangled up with rubbish, like, and the tip went right over anyway. And it weren't. It was. I started playing this fish. Anyway, the director said, "We ain't ready." I said, "Neither am I." Anyway, I landed the fish, and it was over a 7 pound, this bream, unbelievable. And I had to obviously chucked it back out again, and we had another one, and I'd done a bit of voicing while I was doing that, bit of talking to the camera. And anyway, it went down very, very well. It went down that well. The director invited me back to do a film for Irish television. I do believe it was for Irish television. And but unfortunately, with my work, because I did have a family to bring up, I did have a job, so I couldn't do it. Hello, Paul. And anyway, they're the kind of things that happen. I mean, and people can't take away your memories. I mean, whether it be from, going to Germany and having fun, like when you meet people like that, and the competition that the fear. I mean, I remember with one of our lads, he was a young lad then, Tony Rickson. We were fishing a lake called Rintold, I think the lake was called, somewhere in Germany, and it was absolutely bloody freezing. Topper was there, Tony, and one or two others, and we was on this lake, and I said, "I ain't having this. I'm going, too cold. I'm going in for a drink." Anyway, Tony come in, and he come in with me, and we started drinking the German lager, which anyway, some of the German anglers come in, and then we got into some kind of competition, and I was drinking gin and tonics, and Tony was having one. I mean, before he learnt his lesson, I think. Anyway, I had a cup, and he said, you don't know what a drink is, this German. So he said, we know, and what's it? Anyway, out comes this bottle, and pouring it out, and I believe you me, it was like cough medicine, and it was called Ratsy Puts. Anyway, on the night we went back fishing, and Tony went back, and he thought he'd had a fish, but somebody tied a bait box lid to his line, fall about laughing. And on the night we gets into the restaurant, Tony orders his steak and pommes frites, and the next thing is fell asleep in it, and that was the effects of this stuff called Ratsy Puts. And he said to me in the morning, how come you're like that and I'm like this? Because he was in a hell of a state. I said, it's called flower potting, Tony. He said, what do you mean, Tony? I said, take a sip and put the rest in the flower pot. He went mad with me, and he still does to this day, because I still think about it. Well, this week I lost a good friend. I ain't seen him for about 25 years, but he was absolute ambassador angling. No man's fool either. Mick Cotton. Don't know how many of you knew him, but still walked with Coventry angling. I think he was in the Coventry team that won the 1977 National on the Welland. Brilliant bloke, and along with Dave Haynes, we were down Newton St Low. I was practising. I don't know whether it was for a national or whether it was for a Winter League semi-final. Can't remember now, but I can remember Mick. So anyway, we're fishing away, and it gets around about dinner time. I said, oh, come on, I've had enough of this, I'm going for a drink. And Dave said, yeah, and me. And Mick said, oh, come with you. And anyway, we went up to the Globe, and what you having then, Mick? He said, what you lot having? And me and Dave said, blackthorn. So he said, oh, I'll have some of that. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. Anyway, cut a long story short, going back, he nearly fell in the river. He couldn't believe it. He's only had a few pints of this evil West Country drink, and he's just hopeless, falling about. And Dave knows anything about it. And unfortunately, we lost Mick this week to dreaded COVID. Shame, really. Had some good times with him on the Oxford in Ireland with his old mate Chunny, and you can't take them memories away from you, but very sad. Well, let's get back to these to these young kids that we used to take on the band. When I say young kids, they were young men really, but when you got them out there, they didn't behave like young men. They just went berserk. There were drink, and then fish, and we had some brilliant times. The trips got smaller over the years, from a coach of 30 going down, but we did have some good times, and going in the latter stages. I mean, Gary Bowden would have broke the world record if he hadn't have been drunk. He had 258 pound of bream in 5 hours off the Blackwater at Vernon's Bridge, which was a wonderful feat then, all on the lead. But I mean, he was pretty paralytic first thing in the morning. And we used to pick a lad up, a big friend of mine from Incley every year, Dave Colkin, who used to play bass guitar for a band in the Midlands, a very successful band in the Midlands called the Matadors. Not only that, he did have he's had a session with a few bands. I mean, he backed PJ Proby at one time, and not only that, he did play bass guitar for the Swinging Blue Jeans, and I'll let him off with that, because I never liked the group, to be quite honest with you. But there you go. And I can remember him, and I don't know whether Dave can remember, but I can remember him being booed off the stage at the George for that. But anyway, we're in this big disco hall in the hotel in Ireland, and somebody had told the DJ that Dave was in here, an ex-Swinging Blue Jeans guitar, and the place went mad. They're all after Dave. But coming back one year, we stopped in this little pub for a drink on the way back to the ferry. There wasn't, well, there was a couple in there, but there was nobody in there anyway. There was Mike Kent and Dave, and anyway, it ain't very often you get Dave singing. But old Kenty got up and again there was a song, and then Dave did his Bebop-a-Lula act, and everybody's having fun. The next thing, the pub is absolutely full, and when I say full, of musicians, fiddlers, the drums, everything you could think of singing, and of course. We had to leave, and I'm trying to get them out, and they didn't want us to leave, and we had to go because obviously catching the ferry, and it's so fun. Highlights, I suppose. Highlights of me fishing is, like I said, is the sea link, and the downfall on the sea link once was catching people cheating, robbing their own fellow anglers, But that's another story. That's a sad point. But I had some good times on the Classic. Met some real nice people, really, really, and they are, some people have got a lot of edge when they're fishing, but in the main, the most I met in Ireland, were brilliant, and they tell you anything. I've had some highlights. I fished next to Kevin once on the King of Clubs and get him a tank in, but I also gave him a weed cutter, which he was very grateful for, but he lent it to somebody and they never get him back, and he wanted another one, but unfortunately the only one I had was my own, and he weren't having that. But when you look at it, people like that, how close you can get to them. Bob Nudd, I was fishing on Pretoria, come up to me and he went, "Well done, Ray, world champion, well done." Along with Eddie Wynn one time, we nearly got one famous angler to fish for us in a team. I won't mention his name because he is good. But in the end, he relented from doing that. I could go on with stories and stories, but I don't really want to embarrass anybody out there. But I will. Dave's watching. I can see he's watching. I can embarrass Dave. We're on a sponsored trip with Cliff Smart, and we're all on this coach. There's a load of us on a coach, and we're fishing in one or two venues, and we ends up in Enniskillen in the Manor, and me and Dave rushes in to get a room. Anyway, yeah, we'll have a double, and the girl looks at us a bit old fashioned. I thought, what's she looking at us old fashioned for? Anyway, we get upstairs. And we goes into the room, and it's a 4-poster. It's a bridal suite. I can't believe it. It's oh, come on, Dave. So we rushes back downstairs again and gets down there, and all the rooms are gone. So we've got to sleep. We got this double bed anyway. We met the best of it. And in the morning, I said to Dave, I said, "Are you going to make the tea, Dave?" He said, "No." I said, and a couple of minutes, Dave, I nudged him. I said, "Are you sure you ain't going to make the tea?" And he got out of bed so quick, it was unbelievable. I won't say why, but he did. And and then we went down in the morning to get back on the bus, and you've never seen anything like it. The walls of the manor were covered in single file lines of chrysidine dye, and when I say single file lines, it was like Clapham Junction, where all the maggots had got out. And anyway, all over the place. And it weren't the first, it weren't the last time I had a maggot escape. Vic Bush. We're going to Germany, and I think it was a 12 months before. Yeah, it would have been a 12 months before. We went round to Benny's in Lee to get some maggots to go to Ireland with, and Benny always done a lot of talking, chatting. He always get yourself plenty of time to have a good chat to Benny. And he was telling us about how he found out about vacuum packing maggots. So he showed us, and and we put them in, and we done it, and they were all right when we got to Ireland. We took them out. Anyway, we're going to Germany, so I said to him, let's vacuum pack them. Anyway, Mr. Bush was having none of this. Anyway, in the end, he won out. So we left him opening the trays in the back of the van. Gets on the ferry, Harry Chuck, and we put some under the van. Anyway, a few beers on a night, gets into cop. into the cabin, falls asleep. Next thing, somebody's banging on my door, speaking in Dutch, shouting, and I'm telling him where to go because, you know, I'm trying to get some sleep. In the end, I opened the door, and there's this burly seaman. Captain wants you in his on the bridge. So he marches me up to the bridge and he says, "You got maggot all over?" I said, "No, not me, mate. Yeah, you." Anyway, by the time we got down to the van, we were the only one on this massive car deck. And he gave us a broom to sweep the maggots off the car deck. And I could have killed Vic Bush. Anyway, we swept him up. I think Gary was with us. No, I don't know. I think Gary Butler was with us that time. But yeah, we swept the car deck. I asked for the steam gun, but he wouldn't let me have that. He said, "No, you sweep," and we had to sweep the car deck. But they were great times. Really good. And you know, I've done quite a few features down here. You know, like I said, done them on Bristol Haven with Tony. Bristol Haven with quite a few people. I've done the pictures of young Glenn Bailey and Timmy Ford, and a catch picture of I can't remember. That's gone now out of my head. Talking too much, but you know, they were all good features. I think one of the best ones I done was with Reasons, and it, you know, was keeping it simple. I think the thing was called, and we done it on the axe. It was a great feature, and one of the sub-editors for the Angler's Mail said it was the best one that was ever done. Well, a praise, you know, for somebody like me, and they were great. And then I'd done the one at Longleat, you know, the first, and really we put Longleat on the map because, I mean, Hook went there not long after we opened it all up, but that's another story, and I don't want to get into that. But you know, there was some great times, you know, and I've had my moments in fishing. I've finished. Lee's still watching. I've finished second once to Lee and once to somebody else. I thought I might have been twice to Lee Gregory actually, but then one year I did win it, the Brew Champs, which some kind of achievement. You know, any championship to win is a championship. Like I said, the classic, done well in that. I had a few moments in the King of Clubs, but not many. Coot Hill. Benny Asher said to me when I won the first day on the Coot Hill, and he said, "This I know, lad. Last year thee was up, and this year thee's a superstar." And you know, that's the kind of things I want to tell everybody. The stories. I mean, running the Winter League. The Winter League to me was absolutely brilliant. I used to love running the Winter League. I fished it for a bit after we come back, but you know, me taking the mick out of people, it was something else. Most people took it. There was one or two didn't like it, but most people took it, and you know, hopefully that they'll live with them memories of me, and I still do it to this day in the poppy match. And you know, they are great times with great anglers, you know, and the poppy match to me. Well, when we took it over, when we got forced to take it over, when Brian packed it in, unfortunately, Bill Milton, God rest his soul, our Bill, said to me and Bence, "Will you run it? Help me run it?" And we both said, "What do you mean, run it for you?" Yeah. Well, we did, and the rest is history. And we've raised a lot of money in the years we've been doing it. I mean, last year was £2,077, which is a big achievement. And obviously, I've got to thank people, you know, like Bill's son, D&G estate agents, or you know, and obviously Preston, Mark Harper, and all the shops, always done us proud, and one or two other people, you know, too numerous to mention, because and all the helpers, else it won't happen. I don't know what's going to happen this year. The water's all booked, but looking at it, I don't think it's viable to do it, obviously because of how many people you need weighing in and everything else. It's not fair. But anyway, you know, we have a moments, don't we? You know, hopefully we'll continue to do it. And there's been some great anglers win it, you know, over the years. But I think, really and truly speaking, you can look back and see all your retreat achievements. And I mean, when I fished with Cleveland Veals, and you know, we weren't the be all and end all of match fishing teams, but we were well. We had some great anglers and some, you know, and people that put the time and effort in. And I'll never forget the year we won the Super League and the Winter League. And the Winter League was the last one, and it was. And all things are very tight with Avon bait. Anyway, we gets back to the thing, and I've said to everybody, don't tell lies, just say how many points you got, you know, just say your points. So we gets back, anyway, comes to it, we've lost by a point. And I'm adding these points up and along with Jeremy, and we're adding these points up, and are you telling, yeah, you know, we've all got the truth. There's Charlie and his tie, and they're going to have a meal and all, you know, and everything. And we said, that ain't right. We can't have lost this today. We can't. Anyway, cut a long story short, Jerry says to me, get in there and sort it out, Ray. So I goes in, and Kev Lawless sat there, who's doing the counting, and I said, you got our points wrong. I said, you got our points wrong. Anyway, it's going through the sheet, gets the more name, and he's got more points wrong. Anyway, cut a long story short, we won it on the day, and we tied with, obviously that made us tied with Avon bait. And so it's a count back on weight. Well, Kev Perry won it on his own, on the hunt spill with weight, and well done. And obviously we won that final. I think we fished that final, semi-final, up on the Glen, and we had bad luck really on the Glen, because the first 7 people that come back, I can remember Mick Cotton, you know, I'll bring his name up again, sat in the pub at the end when with his viewers back, said, you'll win it today with that. Anyway, the rest is history. Come back, the last 5 or 6 people coming back had crapped out really, but there's a sad time. That year as well, we won the Drennan League, and we were fishing the semi-final on the Thames and the Oxford. Well, the Oxford, the Thames the first day I never fished it. Obviously the Oxford I did, and the first day we come last out. Starlets and Trevs, we were last, but we had the individual winner on the first day on the Thames. The following day we was on the Oxford. Anyway, we went into Banbury on the night. We were staying in Banbury, and we all went out and all of us got absolutely cacoed. There were people being pushed home in Tesco trolleys. There were people sleeping on the stairs, etc., etc. Anyway, we gets up in the morning, has a breakfast, and goes to go out, and lo and behold, there's police check going on just down the road. So we all had to hang back. They were checking all these cars. Of course, everybody was 6 sheets to the wind still. Anyway, they eventually went, and we drove full speed down to the canal. And there, I can't remember, it might have been Tom Legg. And he said, I didn't think you were going to turn up. Yeah, you know, we told him the story anyway. We made the draw. And I got to my peg, and I couldn't believe me luck. I thought, well, I know this peg like the back of my hand, and I know exactly what to do. I had Youngie one side on me and from Trev's, and Usie the other side of me, and I said to Usie, I said, you ain't going to catch much there unless I let him through, and he laughed. Anyway, the other side on me was Youngie. Anyway, I went over, and I caught a roach, you know, plumbing the depth. I went over, and I caught a roach on a bare hook, and I had to chuck it in the cherwell behind me. So I thought, oh dear, I've got to got to do something here because it's solid. And I mean, when I say solid, it's solid. And I thought, okay, I ain't worried about Yuzi below me. I'm more worried about Youngie above me because he's the only one that could do me any damage. So anyway, I cut a load of joker and cast her over the far bank, and the canal went black, you know, I mean, with the mud and the fish. I thought, oh God, I ain't going over. So I starts fishing down the inside, and Kev Perry come along. Now Young is catching, on the bloodworm, he's catching gudgeon, one a chuck. And Kev Perry comes along and he said, what you got, Ray? I said, nothing. He said, what do you mean, nothing? I said, do you want me to catch a fish? He said, yes. So I deepens my rig up to the bottom, goes in and has a gudgeon first chuck. And I said, they have caught you a fish, because I knew what I was going to do. Anyway, now it's 3/4 an hour into the match. So I goes over now this time. Now, I ain't kidding. First 3 puts, I've caught him up. Now, Youngie just scratching his head, he don't know what to do. He's catching these gudgeon one a chuck. Anyway, I continues to catch, and by the time Kev Perry come up there, I'm playing this perch, and it's trying to get up a bloody rat hole on me inside. And Kev said, what the bloody hell's that? And I said, a lot of gudgeon. And he walked by anyway. The irony of it is, I won the individual. We finished last. Paul Fairs made Mark Down scratch his head and wondered where he was going wrong. He said Paul was catching a gudgeon, a chuck, and throwing up into the same keep net. So, you know, I mean, they were funny days. And when we got back to, you know, the results, a few of the lads from Trev said, why didn't you say you were having a night out in Banbury, we'd have joined you? I think Starlet, I can't remember who won it overall on that, who went to the final. I can't remember, it didn't matter. It didn't matter one little bit. We had a brilliant time, and there were really, really good times. I think well, how did I end up running? Clive Branson's asking a question here. How did you end up running commercial matches now after love of natural venues? Well, Clive, I've not really run matches. I used to help Mike out on a Tuesday and a Sunday, you know, but I've never really run matches on commercials. Obviously, I'd love to get back to fishing, but let's be fair about it. Canal matches. I used to love the canal, and I've had some brilliant catches on the canal, and they are brilliant. But unfortunately, things have changed. Bikes, walkers, dog muck, boats, parked everywhere, don't care, got no respect for the angler whatsoever. With poor relations, you know, we pay a licence, they don't need to. I know the canal barges have to if they use the locks and everything. A lot of them don't, but we have to buy not only a licence but a club licence as well, you know, to sit down on a yard of bank. And, you know, to me it's all wrong. And going back donkeys years ago, I'll never forget it, there was talk of linear moorings on the Bristol Avon. And, you know, linear moorings, what a horrible thing to do, you know, taking up space in where you can't get to fish. So the Bristol and West Federation was a big club, and they owned this lovely stretch of water called the Crane and Jack White's, Swinford. So, along with the secretary, Vic Tyrrell, I and he were discussing it, and one night said, why don't we ask Bathampton to join the Bristol and West and have a united voice with the, you know, obviously the people that owned the majority of the water on the Bristol Avon, i.e. that was the amalgamated clubs, the amalgamation, and of course Bathampton, and that would have covered all the river. So we would have had a very good voice and a very good opinion about linear moorings, you know. Anyway, The outcome of that is I got voted off as match secretary, which didn't really matter to me, really. And I said to the bloke who'd done it, I said, you'll live on my reputation for a bit, but after that it'll all go downhill, and it did. And people in Bristol will know the story, what happened to the individual who took over from me. But I felt sorry for Vic Tyrrell, because Vic Tyrrell done a lot. I mean, Vic Tyrrell, really and truly speaking, was one of the advocates of the embassy, because he was a chemist for WD and H.O. Wills. And also he got sponsorship off of Bakerford for the Bakerford Cup on the river, and quite a lot. And they'd done him in as well. And that was the amalgamation, because they wanted to take over the crane stretch of the Bristol Avon. I'm sorry if I upset anybody, but that's the truth, and it was all down to one individual, and I ain't mentioning no names. They know who they are and what they've done. You know, after me raising all that money for them, they just kicked us in the teeth. They didn't even have the decency to say to us, Vic or myself, look, we're putting somebody up against you, don't stand, which is the gentlemanly thing to do. And I understood it, well, you know, so c'est la vie. And like I say, the rest is history. But yeah, that, you know, that politics in angling, I suppose. But look at the linear moorings on rivers now. Look at them. You know, wherever you go, there's loads and loads of boats. So there we go. That's one thing. And like I said, I'd love to go back to fishing the canal. I'd love to go back to fishing the rivers, but getting too old, Clive, for that now. Really, truly speaking, you know. So we are where we are. Yeah, I mean, going back to trips, you know, we've done a few trips, done quite a few trips for the disabled anglers. You know, we raised money along with Dave Mack, you know, Mr. Plod, the policeman, who lives in Ireland now, I believe. Anyway, going on from that, we did take the disabled over to Ireland with helpers and everything else, and they were a great success. And other things like taking the lads over, and I always used to say to them, don't worry lads, I've organised a party of nurses. Of course it never happened, but it did one year. Logical have it, you know, if you say it often enough it happens, and we did. And I think we were in the White Horse Hotel at the time, and it were the blood nurses over there, so you know, fantastic night in there. And don't matter where you go in Ireland, I think you know, you make your own fun, but there's a lot of people, whether it be from Ballinamore, Baileyborough, Cavan, you know, Arva, you know, it's great. I mean, I had some great times. You know, really, really good times fishing. And the partying. I remember one night we was all in the Kilmore, and we was sitting down. We was just singing, you know, the rugby songs and everything else. You know, with the woodpecker and all that, and up the fairway and songs like that. Anyway, and other songs as well. And we're all there happily married. And the bloke comes, the night porter comes. Look, we thought he was coming to ask us if we wanted any more drinks. But it weren't. He said, excuse me, lads. He said, do you mind being a bit quieter? The bride can't sleep. Well, you can imagine what we all said about that. The bride can't sleep. What does she want to sleep for on a wedding night? You know, so it was just all that kind of fun. Anyway, were we quiet? No, we weren't quiet. But you can go through lots of things. But I enjoyed more fishing because I'd done a lot. You know, I went, like I said, France, Germany, met some great people. One time in France, it was I put a piece about it on Facebook the other day, with Keith Elliott fishing and one or two other, Trevor Gunning, and you know, we were all there, and I went into this tackle shop on the site, and I met this chap. He was a reporter for the La Page magazine, and he introduced me to this chap. And this fellow was the manager of Census Ground Baits France, and he gave me an hat he gave me a green apron and said, "You sell my product in England." And I went over to back to England, and I set up a meeting with Mike Salisbury and Les Wilkinson to see if we could have census ground bait, because I ain't got the wherewithal for it. And we had this meeting, and Mike was keen, but Les said, "Nah, we don't want that, muck. We've got Kestrel ground baits." Well, I just sort of shrugged my shoulders and let it go. And the rest is history. Obviously, you could look at things, but we had some great talk. I mean, I encouraged Mike to buy some floats in Germany. And when I say encourage Mike to buy some floats in Germany, these pole floats, bubble floats, we sold thousands of them. We bought them. Mike bought them for 5p. I mean, we remember selling them at £3 for £1. £3 for £1 at the World Championships, and mail order we had loads, and we sold quite a few to Dave Enser, and he put them on. I don't know what he charged for them, probably £1 a piece, knowing Dave, but out of his shop in. And there was another thing was Enser's like. I remember one year with Dave, we at the Kerry Bridge, we went fishing, and the challenge, I was going to do a feature. The challenge was to do £100 before breakfast. And I ain't kidding you, we sat not 10 yards apart on the pole, 10 metres at hand, and we had £100 easy, both of us, before breakfast. Unbelievable fishing. And that's how it was. If you sat on them, it was good. Somebody's put Heaps versus Ray match with a pole. Yeah, well, that was due to a trip. We were all going, I think we were going to Holland, and we were on the bus, and I was on about how the pole had revolutionised fishing on the canal, and to get over, then the Oxford was a very narrow canal up to the Grand Union, and I was saying you get right tight in, blah de blah, and we're there, and Ian's on the bus, and he said, you can win with a stick there. And the reporter on the bus was a young lad named Greg Minahan. I think that's how you pronounce his name, might have it wrong. And he said, "Well, you're up for that challenge then, Ray?" And I said, "Yes, I'm up for the challenge, of course I am." Anyway, I gets in touch with my old mate Harold and ask him what's the best place to go, and he come down along with Dave Colkin. I don't know whether Fred were there or not, but I know Dave was there. And we gets down on this Banbury Water, and there's a boat there called the Jasper. A lot of people will remember that. And the match, we started. Anyway, Ian breaks a twig out the edge, and we gets down on the canal. I goes down a little way from him. And we started and set up, and anyway, Bill Gollard, the photographer, said, "No, you got to come back here, right? You got to come back closer." So I had to move, and the disadvantage because he was still fishing. He was still fishing here. Anyway, cut long story short, sets up and I catch him. Anyway, the result of the match, as everybody knows and it's seen in the paper, Ian beats me. Well, yeah, okay, I know the truth, but anyway, that's the way the story goes. So I got to agree with it. He did beat me. Well done, Ian. Anyway, cut a long story short, that was ever so well received. Not only that, I don't know why, but Ian brought out some videos, and first really to do it on fishing, they were brilliant. I was lucky to be at the premiere of one of them. Anyway, one of it, I think it was that video anyway, on pole fishing. They put our catch picture on the front of this video, and I gets a phone call off my mum, bless her. "Ray, you're in Woolies window." I said, "Not again," and she laughed because she knew the story about me and the Woolies window. And I said, "What do you mean in Woolies?" She said, "You're your photos all over Woolies window, and they've got this. They were promoting the video of it, and apparently it was in every Woolworths window up and down the length of the country. So yeah, fame and fortune in a Woolies window for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. Like the last time I was in Woolies window. So you know, them kind of things were good. And the story, I think the story was featured, you know, quite widely in Europe as well. And because of that, I was at a presentation when we fished against the Dutch. I don't know which time it was, but one time. And the managing director of Silstar Holland was giving out the prizes and everything of the matches. And anyway, and then all of a sudden he calls my name out. I thought, well, I ain't one bugger all. And I goes up on stage, and he said, "Here, you'd be able to be here now." And he presented me with this little bamboo pole. You know, everybody couldn't stop laughing with it. Great times, great memories. So anyway, I've rattled on now. I can't. I've had a. Who was your favourite angler during the past? Well, that's hard, really. Favourite angler in the past. Well, I suppose, really and truly speaking, my favourite angler in the past, because we were great mates, was Ian. You know, I know he's got his own match fishery down south now, and obviously I ain't seen him for donkey's years, but we had some good times. And you know, my kids, he stayed at my house a few times. My kid used to call him the pirate because he had a gold tooth. So, but then going back, really and truly speaking, I got to say this: being a Leicester lad, my favourite angler of all times has got to be Ivan. Met him on numerous occasions. Always had time for everybody. Brilliant angler. Smoked too much, but there you go. He's Leicester lad, likely lad, and he will be doing the same as I'm doing now. Come on, you foxes, you know. So yeah, he's Ivan. Got to be Ivan. And they're all. But let's be fair about it. You can get close to them, can't you? You know, we've got a very, very brilliant angler down here now in the southwest. Really good. Des Ship, England international, brilliant angler. Got time for everybody. Bit different going back a few years, but now he is brilliant. He'll talk to anybody nowadays, won't you? But you know, all the things like that, and of course, and then we got Trig, you know, and Trigger learnt his whack off of Tony, and Tony, brilliant angler, could have done equally the same, but he liked his locality and what he done locally, and he's brought on a lot of anglers, and he'd done a lot for angling in the southwest. I've got to say it is Mr. Rickson. So that, you know, I mean, if you can enjoy angling like I've enjoyed it, you know, tomorrow, you know, you go out, you don't catch note, or you get beat off the next peg. Does it really matter as long as you enjoy it? No, it don't. No, and believe you me, I've enjoyed it so much. You know, really, really enjoyed it. The trips, the travelling, the miles, the friendships, and everything else. And I just think it's wonderful. I ain't having many questions though, am I? I mean, well, any stories about Billy? Well, I can tell you quite a few about Billy and up the bacon factory in Inkley and one or two other places. Well, the George for those initiated. But one of the funniest things I'll always remember about Billy, and I mean, I had a lot of respect for Billy going back in the day. He was a brilliant angler. But we were all in the Kilmore, and he was with the top-notch anglers over the other side, and he comes over to our table. There's all the Bristol lads sat there, like one or two others, And he said, do you mind if I come and sit with you lot? He said, they're all smoking that stupid tobacco over there. No, Billy, sit down with us. They're all going like, yeah, you're more than welcome. Anyway, after about 5 minutes, he gets up. He says, you lot are smoking it here and all. So, he gets up and walks away. So, yeah, funny story. Not really. I mean, Billy's Billy. And, and to this day, the day on the Oxford, he didn't do very well when everybody thought he was going to do well. But he got his own things about that. But, yeah. So, we've got to thank Billy, really, for fishing, ain't we? Because I don't care what anybody says, Billy was responsible for digging, having that first commercial fishery on a proper scale. I'm not saying there weren't people who get issued day tickets out, but he done it properly with, the fishery out at Wolvie, and the bull. Anyway, there's lots of story you could tell. But some of them ain't for air, really, But I've got to say this, I'm about coming back one day, and there's a lad who used to come with us called Mike Kent, and we're coming back on the boat, and you got to imagine this. This is a big bar on the back of a ferry, with full of drunks and lorry drivers and holiday makers and whatever. Anyway, we were all in a group and we encouraged Kenty to get up singing. And he starts off, and I ain't kidding you, you could have heard a penny drop. Everybody just shut up to hear him sing. And believe you me, he could sing. Shame we had to spoil it sometimes with our Rudy songs, but there you go. But like I said, they were brilliant trips. And nobody can take them memories away from them people that come on. I know everybody enjoyed them. We did have one bad year when people were taking a double draw, and they know who they were. And it still goes on to this day. So, and dropping one on the floor and not telling anybody, whether by accident or by design, you don't know, do you? But I got to say this, I just enjoyed my fishing. If there ain't no more questions, how long I've been chatting now? Over an hour now. Well, I ain't stopped, have I? Hiya, Rod. They're all watching now. There's quite a few. There's quite a few left. I expect quite a few have been a bit bored, really. Bridgewater Taunton Canal. Yeah, I fell in love with that. And I fell in love with that through one angler. Jeff Reasons. I said Vic before, didn't I? That's a bloke I used to work with. Jeff Reasons. Jeff Reasons put me right on the Bridgewater Taunton Canal, and I used to love fishing it. Bread, catch roach after roach after roach, and I can remember the pole champs being down there. Odgie were organising it. Anyway, it gets down there and there's Dave Barrows. How about this rain? He opens up the back of his van and it's full. I ain't kidding you. Now the back of his van is full of joker and of course bloodworm. And I said, you know what you want to do with that, don't you? He says, what? I said, wrap it back up in the paper and leave it in the van. I said, no, yeah. I said, all you need is this. So I gave him a bag of liquidised bread. Anyway, I makes me draw. And Odgie says, you won't win from there today, laughing. Because I had quite a bit of success. Anyway, I said, won't I? He said, no, you got no chance anyway. I gets to me peg. And can't fish no more than 6 metres. The wind's horrendous for a pole match. I sets it up. And I'm fishing the bread. I'm fishing away. And I'm catching these little tiny things with roach, about 60, 70 to the pound. And I'm fishing away. Anyway, cut a long story short, slings a pole back to swing this little roach in. I looks up and the elastic's halfway up to the next peg. Of course, gingerly plays it. A dirty great big tench. Puts it in the net. Goes out again. Of course, it's gone quiet a bit now, so puts a pinky on, running it through, nothing. But I knew they'd come back eventually, these little roach. Anyway, started catch these little roach again. Next thing, same thing. Up the canal goes and dirty great big perch. Anyway, I weighs in. I didn't win it. I was second. And the kiddie who won it hadn't gone in the pools. So I won all the pools, and of course I got the invitation to fish the pole final. But it was on the River Lee, and no way to go up there. But Dave Barrow's come back, and I will give him. What's it for this? You did say you were right, but it was. I mean, you know, it was an out and out bread fishing water then. You catch late on the caster like everywhere else, but it was, and I used to love it. That was absolutely brilliant. Another venue, Durley Reservoir. I've had my moments down there as well. Some lovely days fishing down there. Lovely matches as well. Caught a lot of fish. The Shearwater used to be brilliant, full of bream, and then Warminster AA introduced carp. Well, all them big bream that used to be in there, I know it's all come back now, but them big bream that used to be in there at that time all got emancipated and disappeared. But fortunately, like everything else, they spawned, and the place was full of these tiny little skimmers. Anyway, I draws this match one day in the bay, as soon as the top end of the dam, it goes round, and I was looking back at the dam, for want of a better word, in this bay, and I sets up a 13-foot microlight, Billy making 2BB float, size 20 hook. I had a bucket full of ground bait, fixed it off, just like a canal fishing, and I fishing away, and I'm catching one of these little skimmers, a chuck, and bloody blah, I'd go to throw another ball of ground bait, and I'd have a bite, so I'd drop it at my feet, and I could feel these fish hitting me waders, and you know, laughing about it, feel them feeding off my feet. Anyway, I weighed in, and I won the match with I think it was £23 of these fish, and I don't feel so, you know, small, and it was 597 fish, the most fish I ever caught. You know, in a 5-hour session. So not too bad really, but you know, going on from that, and I did win the match. So that, you know, that's another one where you know you can't let go. You never forget them days. It's like when I at Petora schools, I fished the Waggler on G4. I fished the Waggler because I got told to fish the Waggler by Dennis Salmons. And he said because they won't stay close, so I fished the Waggler. But I were drunk when I got to my peg, and I had Dave England sat behind me. And I was catching roach, and at one time I had every single bit of tackle up the bank, you know, in a mess. So anyway, but cut a long story short, I weighed in 54 kilos, or no, 52 kilos of roach, which weren't too bad, which was second overall on the day. But I did get told a funny story afterwards, but I don't know how true it was. So I should, you know, what they were saying, I should have won it really. But you know, that's I can't prove anything like that. But I did get told the following year. But going away from that, the year before, I had 44 kilos of roach off Queen Elizabeth Road on the Waggler, and brilliant. This is the funny bit. I've loose feeding and fishing out on the Wag, and I'm watching this Jurgens, his name was, and I don't know whether he's Austrian or German, not too sure. Young kiddie, and he's catching on the pole, and I'm looking up, and he's playing this fish, and I've looked up again, he's got another one. I'm thinking he's got another one, and I'm trying to get him in on. Anyway, I chucks the Waggler up and puts it on the pole, but they ain't staying, you know. And I can only fish 6 metres to hand because of the tree above my head. And anyway, then all of a sudden I realise he's got a soft top, and he was playing the same fish, and I thought, stupid me. Anyway, I chucked it up, carried on with the Waggler, and I just beat him. I think I beat him. He had 44 kilos, 60 and I had 44 kilos 160 or something like that. Anyway, I just beat him, which would have been my own fault if I hadn't done. So I won that section that year. Anyway, the following year, Dave England draws the peg and he said, "How deep was it, Ray?" I said, "About 5 foot." Anyway, after the match comes back, he says, "5 foot, you bugger off." He said, "As deep as how?" He's about 13 foot. Well, I said, I must have had 7 foot of fish and 5 foot of water, because, I never got to the, I just set it up and cast down, fished, and the fish kept coming, and 3 to the kilo, and when they hit you, they hurt. But there you go, it's another one. So, I think I've gassed on enough, unless anybody's got any questions they want to ask me. And if there's anybody out there watching who wants to donate anything to this year's poppy, I'll be more than grateful. Even if I've got a run of raffle instead of the match, I want to do something for the British Legion. And well, you know where I'll sit with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you, because I have rattled on a bit and I'm getting dry. So I hope you've enjoyed my waffling on. Obviously there's a lot more stories in there, and I just want to say thank you to them that helped me along the way, there's quite a few. So, and I've enjoyed, there's one thing about it, I've enjoyed handing out prizes to them people that win these matches, like the Poppy, like the Winter League. I really enjoyed doing it, watching the faces. And, when I take the mick out of them, I used to make certain people walk up and down because of their masculine bodies, like, and all things like that. But there was one that, one lad who will remain nameless, who really couldn't take a joke. But I used to pull him a bit. But this day we weren't on the river. We was down Acorn. Anyways, up on peg 24 looking for something. He's searching in the grass. Anyway, he comes back to the hut, and I said to him, "What's up? What you doing up there? What you lost?" He said, "Oh, I lost my wedding ring the other day." I said, "Oh, no luck then?" No. He said, "I'm going to have another look in a minute." So he went up and he come back, and I said, "Any luck? Did you find it?" He said, "Nah, I never found it. Sorry, I didn't give him much hope." I said, "Well, there's one thing, mate, isn't there?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "You won't be able to sing that song anymore, will you?" He said, "What song?" I said, "All that's left is a band of gold." And he stormed out that room. He still can't take a joke to this day, but there you go. If he's watching, he'll hit me next time he sees me. But anyway, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed my little chit chat. I didn't have many questions like Timmy. Timmy had loads of questions. Yeah, but he's famous, Timmy. I'm just getting on a bit now, waffling. Anyway, thank you ever so much for those who took an interest, and I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.